Executive Director of the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government. How many people are members? All right.
Yeah.
She's going to change that. FOG, as it's called, is one of the greatest resources for information about open records, open meetings, stuff like that. She's also been a reporter in a variety of different venues over the years. Take it away, Wendy.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm a big fan of Lobo. I was drinking coffee out of a Lobo cup this morning. I got it at boot camp last year. Those letters fall off in the dishwasher, though.
They do, right?
It's bumming me out, so I'll have to get a new cup. But I've had some of you guys in my classes because I teach in 171, Antonio, and RD, and I remember where you used to sit in the corner. And I can't even read your name. Remind me.
Jordan.
Jordan, that's right. Jordan was in my class, and Liz Cleary. Anybody I'm missing? Also, my former intern, Nicole. Right. Yes, Nicole. Know really well. I take interns, by the way, so think about it. You can get credit through the department, if any, and I'll work with your departments, whatever they are, if they're not C&J. But Nicole did some really interesting stuff. Also love photocopying and some menial work, but got to come to our full-day continuing legal education class, came to a bunch of cool meetings with me, came to a kind of contentious state investment council meeting where I got the stabby eyes from the governor, which was pretty cool. That was awesome. You know, if you're getting stabby eyes from the governor, you're probably doing something right? Anyway, I teach a little bit in the department. I was a non-traditional candidate for journalism when I started out. I studied sociology and anthropology in college, had no intention to ever be a journalist. When I got out of school, I decided I wanted to be a chef, so I cooked in restaurants for a while. And then I had the opportunity to write about food, and so I jumped at it. So I started as a columnist and a critic from a really different kind of corner of the world. And then expanded and expanded, but I wrote about food for a long time until I started doing public affairs and news and politics writing. I spent about 9 years in print, and then I moved to online only, and I did that for about 3 years at the New Mexico Independent. I worked for the Alibi and the Santa Fe Reporter, and then moved to the New Mexico Independent. When I was there, I started doing TV. I was a correspondent for New Mexico in Focus and a producer of Public Square for about 3 years total. I did work for KUNM, did some radio reporting. I'll do anything people pay me to do, really. As Laura was saying, you know, the more you expand, the more opportunities you get, the better off you are. Anyway, I left reporting last February to take this job at the Foundation for Open Government. And this is a group that's about your age. We're founded in 1990 in order to help the media and others hold those in power accountable, right? How many of you have internalized that as your job? Sticking it to the man. Yes. Yes, right? That's your job. And so I'm here to help you stick it, right? I'm here to help you guys get the information and the documents and access to the meetings that you need to hold them accountable. So I'm going to show you a few things. I put in my Twitter feed. I hope you'll all follow at NMFOG. I tweet a ton of cool resources on transparency there. You should also follow at Gwyneth Doland because I tweet a lot of opportunities for students and cool stuff there. How many of you are already following me?
Yeah.
Right on. People I don't even know. That's rad. Okay. So, good. Yeah, follow both of us, and it's a little bit different stuff. You can also follow me on Facebook. I'm Gwyneth Dolan, and the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government has a super long name, but you'll find it if you go on Facebook, and I put a lot of really good information there, too. Okay. So, you can also look at our website here. I want to point this out. I linked to it, but we have a ton of resources up in here, including a page that I actually just discovered today. I didn't put this up, but this is a page where we have a lot of links to government websites where you can get information. There might be a couple dead links here, I'm just going to warn you, but I'll go back and update that page soon. Okay, so Kate, how much time do I have?
About 45 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to zip through the basics here, and then I'm going to leave plenty of time for you guys to ask specific questions. But let me talk to you about, does it look okay? All right. Okay, so news, the definition of news is what somebody somewhere wants to suppress, right? If everybody knows it, it isn't news, right? So the news is that poor Menti Teo was talking to a dude on the phone, right? Oh my goodness, that's news, sort of, right? Your job as reporters is to find out the information that other people don't want you to know, or they want to make it a little bit hard for you to figure out, right? Because maybe it's surprising or unpleasant or reflects on them badly. Not that everybody wants to keep this from you, but it's likely something that someone wants to keep from you. Really exciting news does not land in your email inbox as a press release. Education rates way down, graduation rates way down, press release, and we're having a press conference to talk about this awesome news. That's not the way that works, right? If the rates go up, or look like they're going up, then there's a press conference. If the rates go down, it gets buried somewhere, and you have to dig it out, right? That can sometimes be hard. The sources for your stories. I mean, you're not going to come up with rad story ideas just sitting at your desk, right? I mean, sometimes inspiration strikes, but you get ideas by reading what everybody else is doing, by thinking about what's out there, by talking to your sources, right? And by looking at documents. Bryant does a great job, and when we worked together at The Independent, did a great job of just randomly requesting documents, just because. And I would say to him, man, you're crazy. How do you, is there just a stack this high on the back of your toilet? Like, how do you find the time to just read through all this stuff when you're not really sure what's in there? Well, you find the time and make it, and then he'd call me, you're not going to believe what I found, And the folks who don't want you to see that stuff are counting on you not digging around where there's maybe no indication of what's there. But how many of you are covering a beat already? What's your beat?
The New Mexico legislative session this year.
Right on. Come find me. We're going to talk. I'll help you out. So if your beat is the legislature, you can start looking at reports and places where there is information that are regularly generated and requesting information on a regular basis, just from here and there, to kind of figure out what's coming down the pike. So the budget is something we deal with at the legislature, and there are a million little pieces of information that feed into that budget process. You start digging around in there, and you'll find all sorts of good stuff. The capital outlay process, where state lawmakers get to decide whether they're going to throw little bits of cash here and there. It's a gold mine of malfeasance. It's awesome. If you start digging in there, you will find tons of stories, right? Brian, what are some of the things that you use to request, just for kicks?
Emails always fun.
Emails, I'm going to get to that.
Annual reports.
Annual reports, that's right. You taught me that. That's fantastic. Annual reports contain tons of information that you can dig into, and it might not be some gotcha thing. It might just be an interesting angle that you didn't know anything about. You want to figure out how an organization works. Look at the meetings of its board. Look at its annual report. Look at its monthly newsletters. You will figure out how that thing works, right? For the legislature, for example, at the end of every session, they do a wrap-up thing called, what is it called? Where'd Charlie Moore go? I never know this. Do you remember what it's called?
A wrap-up thing.
It's a big old document that's like a digest. It might be called the digest of the session. Did you ever read it? It's rad. They put it online. Nobody ever reads it. But every once in a while you stumble onto it, and it's kind of a narrative story of what happened at the session. It's really cool. And if you want to know what's going on this time, go read the last one and the one before that. They're not that long, but it gives you a really good idea of what happened. It's handy. Okay, so documents can verify or debunk what your sources are telling you. Oh yeah, revenue was up. We're having a great year. Let's get those figures, right? Let's look at the numbers and see what they say. Because you guys are skeptics. You don't trust anyone, right? You want to see the numbers. You want to see the data. You want to see what backs it up. Maybe they're only telling you a part of the story. Maybe they've just been completely honest with you. That does happen. You know what? And if you have good sources, it happens a lot. But the documents can back them up. Does the joke show up here? Yeah. How do you know when your sources are lying? You. Their lips are moving. Right? People will lie to you. They'll do it because they're just wrong. They'll do it because they're trying to spin it. They'll do it because they're telling you they don't know, but they do. It happens all the time. They're not always just trying to screw you. But it does happen, and you have to verify everything because they will make you look really bad. I had a situation once, well, no, I won't even tell you that story because it doesn't have a good ending. I got burned once and it wasn't good. The documents will also help you ask tough questions. They'll tell you, oh yeah, the numbers are up, they look really good. Then you go and get the budget and you say, what's this negative number down here? Why did you write off $2 million in bad debts? Oh, that. Well, and there's a great big story there, right? So if you go and look at the records of this body, the records of this initiative, this project, whatever it is that you are trying to write about, you'll find more questions to ask through the documents. They'll lead you to new stories. They'll also help you learn the vocabulary of this beat. Now, I was a reporter at the State House for, this is my fifth session up there. There are still words that I do not understand. On opening day, the Senate chose a new president by acclamation. And I was like, oh yeah, they did it by acclamation. A-C-C-L-A, nation. I was all, on my phone like, I don't even know what that means. I've never heard that word before, right? But you can learn a lot of this jargon through the documents and ask, look it up. Don't be a dummy like I am and go, yeah, I know what that means. All right. Documents can also help you protect your sources. A lot of times, you'll get someone saying to you, yeah, there's a problem over here. This is terrible. There's a mess over here. There's a really good story there, but I didn't tell you. And you're like, what do you mean you didn't tell me? How am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to do this story? Well, you didn't get that from me. Good enough. Fine. I'll take it. The documents can allow you to report on something that you can't get people to tell you on the record. And they can then force those people to talk to you on the record. Well, look, I got the report. I got the numbers right here. Now you have to tell me what happened to the $2 million, right? So they can really help you out. They can also make you day, right? Maybe like just a big, juicy Christmas gift when you get that stack of emails and you're like, oh, no, he didn't. It's awesome. Okay. Sometimes you ask questions like, why? Why is there this negative $2 million balance in this state agency's budget? Where did that money go? Why do you do your accounting this way? Why did you write off those bad things that happened in that department? Why does it take so long? That's my favorite question. There's a million different answers to it, but yeah, it takes so long. This is a question, how do you know that? That you are already asking people all the time, right, Nicole?
What?
What? You're staring right at me and you're not listening to what I'm saying?
No, I am.
How do you know that? Where did this $2 million come from? Oh, that was from Richardson's administration. Right?
No.
How do you know that? Well, it just was. How do you know that? Well, it's in this report, right? What's your graduation rate at this high school, sir? Well, it's 2%. How do you know that? Well, it's in this report. It's in these documents here. He was fired because of, he was caught in the closet with a student. How do you know that? Well, it was in the report. How do you know that? And that's how you're going to verify your sources or debunk them, right? This information about the $2 million write-off. Where is that information? Is it in writing somewhere? Yeah, I think so. I think it's on our website. Where? Where is it on the website? Now, here in New Mexico, we have outstanding public records laws, and they've gotten a lot better in the last year. The law is written to make it clear that you all have the right to see almost every document generated by public bodies in your state. The law says, all persons are entitled to the greatest possible information regarding the affairs of government and the official acts of public officers and employees. That's awesome. That's some really good language right there. The greatest possible information. What that means to you guys is the presumption is that it's public. It's not that all this stuff is secret, but we'll let you see a few things. It's you should be able to see everything. And if you can't, they have to tell you why. Anytime you ask for public records from a public body, they have to tell you. They have to point to the piece of the law that allows them to keep that information secret. Do not let them get away with not pointing to the exact piece of the law that tells them why they're allowed to keep it secret. Say, how, why, show me, what part, why not? And this is because, why is this? Why would we do this? You tiny little scribblers. And I'm sorry I have to stare at your whatnots there. Jillian, thank you. Why would we do this? Why would we have a law that says you're allowed to see all these public records?
Because it's public information, and you can't make sure that the government or any other body is doing their job if you can't have visible documents.
How many of you guys trust the government?
No.
Yeah, that guy. I do these trainings every few months with the Attorney General's office for mostly state employees, public employees of cities, counties, and the state all over. And I always ask them, how many of you guys, work for the government? Everybody's hand goes up. Awesome. How many of you guys trust the government? And they're all, well, I trust Metroport, of course. But, CYFD, they are crooks. The governor, she's a crook. But, I love our mayor's office. Go mayor, right? So, there is this paranoia that we have, that we don't trust them. Now, you guys are journalists, so you're paranoid and you're cynical, and that's awesome, right? But regular people are like this, too. And this is not because we have this polarized society. It's not because of Fox News or MSNBC and screaming people on Democracy Now! And whatever the other people are on the radio that I never listen to, right? The founding fathers were untrusting jerks, right? They had really good reason not to trust anyone in power. They're like, no, we know exactly how that king does us wrong. And we are not going to stand for that at all, right? We're going to put in place a system where no one person or one body has the power to ruin this whole game for us, right? So they placed checks on power. And one of the best checks on power that we have is transparency. Let me see the checkbook. Open it up. This is my tax money. I want to see where you're spending it. This is why we put all the state employees' salary information online. How many of your parents work for the government? Right? I know how much they make. If I just looked up somebody today at APS, going on a date with a guy, let me tell you a terrible story. And I was like, I wonder how much he makes. I also wanted to see if he had, been arrested for DWI. And imports. You guys, no DWIs, right? I want you can look up all, what? 32. And I was like, all right, this is not what I'm here to talk about. The important thing is, and my salary's online too, by the way, because we're a nonprofit and we file that information in tax forms that are public records to the federal government. So I feel their pain. Everybody knows what I make too. But this is how we know that, there isn't a clerk in some office somewhere who's making $892,000 a year. Does anybody remember, what is that town in California where they were all paying each other like $800,000 a year? And it was like there were only like 8 town officials, and they had just looted the entire place. if we don't keep our eyeballs on what's going on, then we can never feel confident that's going well. And listen, you will find that things are going well. Some places, sometimes things are going really well. And if you check your sources and you look at the documents and you do your interviews, you may find that confirmed. But when there are problems, you'll find them. Okay. What is a public record? It could be a typed up, printed out report sitting in a folder somewhere. A public record is also that report when it's sitting on the computer. It could be a PowerPoint. It could be actual slides. It could be glass plate negatives taken in 1920. It could be maps, charts, graphs, all sorts of stuff like that. Recordings, video recordings, audio recordings, all that stuff can be public records. Anything that is used, created, received, maintained, or held by or on behalf of any public body and relating to public business. This is a hugely important sentence, okay? It is jam-packed, it's very well done. There's no needless words in that sentence, right? Every single word in that sentence is really important because it tells you what you have a right to see. Anything used. So that means you don't have to have made this thing. You could have bought this thing. Or somebody else could have made it. But definitely if you've created it. If somebody sent it to you. So an email that I send to you, city councilor, that says, vote against this bill, I hate it, blah, blah, blah. Because I sent that to you and you received it, it's now a public record. And this is really helpful, as Laura Pasquez probably knows, when you're dealing with trying to get information out of someone who's not obligated to give it to you, such as, Laura?
An attorney.
An attorney? Good one. Or a Pueblo, or the Navajo Nation. Because the tribes and Pueblos are not subject to open records laws. They don't count. They don't qualify. So if you're, yes?
I don't know if this is true or rumor that you might know. Aren't there not Pueblo tribes that have voluntarily said they will abide by IPRA?
Yeah, the bummer with groups like tribes and, for example, rural electric cooperatives and folks like that who've agreed to follow those is they did it to please their constituents and then they never freaking do it. They just don't freaking do it. And when they don't, you're like, what you said. you said you would. And I'll send them an angry letter. You said you would, Socorro Electric Cooperative, that you were going to. So really should, or stuff. Or what? Nothing, right? Yeah.
But at that point, can't you write a news story about that?
Yeah, but if you're El Defensor Chieftain, you write it all day, every day, nothing ever happens, right? So, I mean, it's a bummer. But anyway, the point is, if you come across a group like, the Navajo Nation, that is not going to give you any of their documents, find out someone they're sending their documents to who is subject to IPRA. So, it could be the Bureau of Land Management, the Department of Energy, Indian Affairs. It could be, state Indian Affairs. All sorts of groups they have to send information to and exchange it with. You can get it if it's just received by them, even if they didn't make it or create it or anything. Maintained or held by, or on behalf of. Now, what does on behalf of mean? That means, we had a court case about this recently, if you are the town of Truth or Consequences, and you have this nonprofit organization that videotapes your city council meetings, county commission city council meetings, and that nonprofit then takes their tapes over here to their little office and they put them in a drawer, they're not held or maintained by the city of Truth or Consequences, but they're held on behalf of the city. That nonprofit organization that's not subject to IPRA is holding public records over in its office. So you can get those because they are public records no matter where they are, even though they're being held by this other body. And relating to public business. This is an important clause because a lot of times people say to me, but, I accidentally send emails to my wife from work on my government account. Can you get those? And I said, well, does your wife work for the state? You know, are you guys talking about business? Because if you send an email to your significant other from your work email account, and you work for the state, and then the email says, honey, we are out of meat. Get some of lean ground turkey for dinner tonight. Thank you, kisses, later. That is not a public record, right? Because it does not relate to public business. So if you went to court, they would not be forced to give that up. It was sent from the wrong account. It was an accident. It was a one-time thing. It's not important. Yeah.
That works both ways, right? If they send something related to public business from a private account, that is subject.
You are smart beyond your years, young lady. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. So let's get into that right now. This is a fight that I've been having all year long, and I'm still having every single day. A public record is a public record no matter where it is. It could be in the whatever nonprofit's office over here, and it's a tape of the Church of Consequences City Council meeting. It could be the annual budget of the Socorro City Council, and that you are a clerk for the City Council, and you have a copy of it in your briefcase, and you take it home at night. It's not magically not a public record anymore because it's in your briefcase at home. No, it's at my house. It's different. Who cares? You created it, and it's maintained by you, and it is public business, so it's still a public record, even if it's at home or in your car, or say you access your work email account through your home computer, and you pull that report onto your home computer, and the entire office crashes into the sea. Where does suddenly open up nearby? But that copy of it on your home computer or wherever is still going to be a public record. Also, if you are conducting public business, you're talking about the city budget, and you are talking to another analyst for your, element of the state that wants some money out of the budget. Yes, let's put in that request for $700 for these teen programs. Let's do it. All right, we're going to do it. Sounds good. Send. Oh, dang, that was my Gmail. Well, didn't mean to do that, but it's still a public record, even though you sent it using your Gmail account to her Yahoo account. You're conducting public business, and it is a record of that public business, and nobody cares what email address it's on. It is a public record, and you would be required to turn it over when she asks for it. Now, it does happen. It happened in the Bush administration. It's happening in the Obama administration. People use unofficial email accounts to keep their business out of the public eye. People do this all the dang time. It is a violation of the public trust, and it's my job to yell at them in the newspaper when we find out they're doing it. And we have to make sure that they don't do that on purpose. The vast majority of times this happens, it's just an accident. Like I said, how many of you have like 3 different email accounts? Right? I have 6 on my phone right now. I have 6. And, I email a student, I'm emailing Jordan, where is your paper? Right? And whoops, that went from my Gmail, even though I have a UNM account. Dang it. I do it by accident all the time. Now, the reason that the Foundation for Open Government is upset about this is because there is a process for collecting records and giving them over to the public. There's a records custodian for every public body. They're supposed to be. I have a case right now where nobody knows who the freaking custodian is supposed to be for a certain public body, and they haven't been taking minutes of their meetings for anything. It's a disaster. But for the most part, there's supposed to be a records custodian for every public body. When you want to see records of the Racing Commission, you send your formal request to the records custodian for the New Mexico Racing Commission, and you say, I want to see all the records related to the Downs Project. And they go and collect those records and give them to you. But when you ask for all records related to this project, you're not going to automatically go into Artie's Gmail for that one stray email. You're going to ask Artie, are there any records on any other accounts or anything? He's going to be like, no. No. And you might lose things that he forgot about by accident, but you might lose things that he forgot about on purpose. Right? So that's why we want everyone to use their official accounts so that there's control over it. The state, has the architecture for those accounts, and you can go in and get those emails. You could close that Gmail and delete it the next day, and poof, it's gone. So it's kind of fun.
Question.
Yeah.
So, say the mayor uses his city email to contact his crackhead mistress. That's not city business, but he sent it from the city's email. Does that count? I would assume, based on this definition, that does not count as a record.
Yes, Liz.
Well, that was kind of ties into the question that I wanted to ask you. Where is the line drawn? Because we've had some issues at the logo where, like, you know, especially with the student government and stuff, and like it has to do with the relationships they were having with each other, but then like you could argue that the relationships they were having with each other were affecting like the government, the way the government was functioning as a whole, and like, you know, we were trying to make that argument because it was very obvious to us, but like not, I mean, necessarily to a records custodian or whatever. Like, how does that work?
Well, in your example, Kwame Kilpatrick, I mean your hypothetical mayor, is going to
Yeah, hypothetical, 100% hypothetical.
your hypothetical mayor is going to have had to pay that mistress with city money. There's got to be some element of it that impacts public business. A public official just having a regular old affair, it really isn't, or you know, generally public business.
Couldn't you argue also that if it's happening frequently, that it's affecting public business because it's doing it on public time?
Your awesome lawyer should make that argument in court. But you are not going to succeed with that argument to the records custodian. So, you know, if these get complicated, they end up having to go to court. Artie?
So what if somebody sent you like a public document using not like a public email, like using this personal email? Can you like ask him to resend the public record or his state?
You, as a public official, probably don't care too much about the accounts other people use to send you stuff.
Yeah, but he can delete that personal email and find that.
Yeah, but you have it. Yes? Brian?
I have another, we'll pretend it's a hypothetical. If a public official is reimbursed for purchases made on their own credit card, is their credit card bill disclosable under your bill?
Only the public expenses. Not
Stuff
whatever
that
they
you're
spent at the
reimbursed for.
newsstand, not whatever they, you know, did other places. Only the public business on that private credit card statement is public. Yes, Laura.
Can I ask about attorney-client privilege?
Yes, you can.
I've been having a hard time with that at a particular state agency where there's the general counsel, and so he kind of has two titles, and so under one title, I got all his emails, but when he's acting as general counsel, those emails like don't even exist in the public record.
I can get you more information on that, but generally speaking, the attorney-client privilege really has to pertain to actual pending or threatened litigation. As your attorney, I can tell you, like, try not to drive drunk, bro, you know? But that doesn't mean that everything I say to you is attorney-client privilege. If you are in court for drunk driving, then all of our conversations and records about that drunk driving charge are going to qualify. But try to, you know, ask them exactly which topic were they talking about, which lawsuit, which piece of threatened or pending litigation, which issue exactly was this, you know, pertaining to. Yes?
How does this affect records with things like minors? As an example, like CYFG, because they're a state agency, but they deal specifically with minors. So how would that?
Just because you're a minor doesn't mean you're automatically exempt from public records. But there are other laws that cover a lot of the things that you're probably asking about. FERPA is one of them. And I tweeted a link to a really good Student Press Law Center white paper on FERPA. So go dig that up. It's great. It gives you way more than I can tell you. Medical information is covered by HIPAA. So that's all out. Generally speaking, if you want information about students, you're probably not going to get anything related to individual students. Unless they have killed someone in a car accident and you are trying to cover that up. And you're the Las Cruces Sun News and you're in yeah.
But they misused FERPA. I don't know if you were going to go into that.
Good. Get that white paper.
Yeah.
And it'll help you troubleshoot all the
You
misuses
can get it
of FERPA.
redacted documents. Redacted documents are your FERPA.
I'm going to leave FERPA for another time because yes, you can call me about your specific questions. I've given you a white paper. We'll talk more about FERPA. Okay, so public records records include things like job applications for university positions. You can go get mine. When I applied for any of like 5 jobs I've done at UNM, right? Police incident reports, although they hate to really do that. Payroll documents, contracts are awesome. Get contracts, okay? Payment vouchers, emails, personnel action forms. Pat, do you know what those are? A personnel action form is, this person's been, pardon? It's a write-up, exactly. How many of you have ever been written up at your dumb job at the mall?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I have. All right. So a personnel action form is the kind of thing that would say, you've been late 4 times and blah, blah, blah. You can get most of the information on that form. Employee salaries, competitive bids and proposals. RFPs are a goldmine of information. And all of those bids sent into them. Board policies, minutes, agendas, all that stuff is great for all those meetings. All right. So, how do you get this information? First, figure out who is the records custodian for this public body. Is it a public body, right? If you're sure, it's UNM, if you're sure. If it's some weird board or commission or subcommittee, you need to figure out, is this subject to IFRA? Is it a group created by the government to make public policy? Anybody have a question about what a group that you're wondering, is it a public body? Can I get information from them? Brian?
What about ASECIA groups?
ASECIA commissions are generally a yes, I think. Yes?
Hi. Okay, I have a question pertaining to public record then. I've seen some for high-profile cases, but are autopsy reports considered public record? I mean, if it's like a high-profile case, like what's going on the Riego case.
Is it? Autopsy reports? Yes.
There are?
Death certificates, birth certificates are a no.
Yeah, definitely. I knew about that one,
Yeah.
but I wasn't sure about the
I haven't ever asked for an autopsy report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they are. Okay, figure out who the records custodian is. Send a letter or email. You can ask for these things just walking in and asking for them. But then you're waiving this huge part of the boot in the butt of the law, right? If you ask for it just in person, then they're not required to follow any of the rules, and they're not subject to all the punishments that happen when you put it in writing. And the reason is, you put it in writing, you've got the date, all this stuff, and it's exact, and they can't say, he never came, I didn't see it, never saw that guy, didn't talk to him. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if you happen to be in like a real quick rush and you don't happen to be near a computer that you can access, but the record person even
Give it a shot.
there, can you write
Yes, you
something
can.
down and then have
And
that
if you're
to
an
them?
angry person in Santa Fe, you can write it with a Sharpie on a toilet paper roll that you just took from the bathroom in the hallway.
It's written, right?
As long as it's written. So, send a letter or an email. Ask to inspect the records. Every public body has to show you the public records for free. They can never charge you money just to look at the records. They will try to charge you money to take copies and other stuff like that, but just to look at them, you should do that. Now, I put in a public records request recently for some stuff in Santa Fe County, and I went up there because it was 500 pages and they charged 50 cents a page. Now, I'm bad at math, but I know that's too much for me to pay. So I went up there and they put these stacks of paper in the conference room, and I went through them all, and I took pictures of 3 pages with my phone. Oh, free. You had to pay for the gas. But it's free. Figure out when you go and inspect which of these pieces of paper you really need to take with you. And then you can pay to have those photocopied there. Or you can take your phone and take pictures. You can bring your portable scanner. Bryant is the king of dragging along a big scanner to his appointments. In the room, in the conference room with this big old scanner and just sticking stacks of documents in there. You can do that. And they have to let you do that. Some states ban you from using a portable scanner because they're afraid it's going to ding up their documents. Or they just want to make it hard for you. But here you can bring your scanner, so you can do that.
Did you bring your own paper and photocopy on that paper?
No. And they probably don't want random low-quality paper jamming up their machine or whatever. Anyway, so you have to also identify the records you want with reasonable specificity. I want to see all the reports about the things and the stuff and whatnots. that you do. It's too hard. Put yourself in the shoes of the person who's going to go have to find this stuff for you. Now, how many of you, when required to produce your social security card or birth certificate, are like, oh yeah, I got it right here. Right? Yeah, that lady. Otherwise, you're like, oh god, I had it in a shoebox. Or, no, my mom has it in a shoebox. No, I had it. I used it. Oh my god. Right? A lot of times, you're asking for something that they used that one time 7 years ago and they haven't seen it since then. So try to be really specific so you can help them find the thing. Try not to walk in the door or open your letter or start this relationship on a bad note. Be as nice as possible to the records custodian. You have plenty of time down the road to be a big old jerk. But your first interactions should always be good. Be as helpful as you can, as specific as you can, as nice as you can. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. You are great. Right? And then they're like, oh, okay. Because there are very few people who are records custodians and that only. They all have other jobs and other stuff to do. And many of them feel that digging up your documents is a pain in the caboose that's on top of the job they're already paid to do. Now, from our perspective, that's what we're paying them to do. It's a part of their job. It's a part of what their job entails. And if they don't have enough time to do it, maybe they need to hire somebody else. But that argument's not going to get you your documents. So try the nice factor. Now, if what you're looking for is already a PDF or an email or a file that's on a computer somewhere, you can ask them to email it to you. Once you develop a really good relationship with the public bodies on your beat, you can just call them up and say, hey, do you guys have this thing? And it's good. You know, I call the Legislative Counsel Service, or I send an email and I just say, hey, do you guys have any stats on that web traffic? Yeah, boom. And they just send it. And I don't have to file a request because we have a relationship. So build relationships with the records custodians on your beat, and they will help you out. Yes?
How long does the public body have to hold on to like their emails? Like, do they have to have those from the beginning of time, or is there a...
I wish. Every body has its own retention schedule. The Public Records Act, PRA, Public Records Act, not IFRA, but the Public Records Act governs retention. Ask the public body for its retention policy, and it will tell you how long they're required to hold some stuff. It's not always that specific. Let's see what's in there. Okay, so once you ask for this, they're supposed to give it to you if they have it handy. They're supposed to give it to you right away. If you're in a small town or you just walk in the office and you're like, hey, do you guys have last year's annual report? Yeah, we got a stack of them printed over there. How about it? That's easy. Sometimes you get the information right away if it's easy to get. Yeah, they have it right in front of them. They do have 3 business days to get back to you with a response. We call this the 3-day letter. It's usually a form letter that says, dear blah, 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 I have received your request, we are processing it, we'll let you know, nothing, I don't have your stuff right now, is what it means. Then they're going to tell you how long it's going to take. If you have asked for all the things and stuff related to whatnots, that letter will say, your request is too broad. It's overly broad and burdensome. Please narrow it down. That's when, if I were you, I would pick up the phone and say, hey, you called about my request. Let me tell you what I'm really trying to get. I'm trying to figure out how many people moved from Bernalillo County to Sandoval County last year. I don't really know what that's called. How could I find that out? And then they may tell you, oh, God, I thought you wanted a whole year's worth of these other reports. We have that kind of thing on our website. I'll send you a link. Call them if you get a letter that says it's overly broad or whatever. Call them. If they say they can't understand what you're looking for, call them on the phone and just try to help them figure out what you need. It'll save them tons of headache. Within 15 calendar days, they're supposed to get you your records. How often does that happen, Brian?
Almost never.
Laura? Kate?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. That's the truth of the matter. Now, in some cases, you know, you got the governor's office, for example. They get tons of requests. Some of them are just crazy pants, really hard to fulfill. Some of them are just huge, but they get so many that they really have a hard time processing them all in a reasonable period of time. And they're honestly not that good. The governor's office is never good about getting you the documents in any kind of timely fashion. It's a bummer. The more helpful and nice and specific you can be, the quicker it will be. But do not give up on it. Where is my 3-day letter? The 3 days come and you haven't heard from them? Hi! Just calling to pick up on my request. What's going on, guys? Oh. If they don't send it to you, if they don't get back to you within 15 days, what can you do? Young man, you.
Oh, you got me.
No, this young man. Yeah, no. What could you do? Sure. Sue them! You can sue them, you can take them to court. Woohoo! Right? Yeah, I know, it's really hard. And it's expensive and it's a pain in the butt. But it's a threat, you know. They never know maybe who you are and who your posse is, you know. One of the things that I do for people is if you're having trouble, you send a request to me and I will ask you to CC me on your request to them. And then they're like, oh crap, not fall. And it's just a little bit of a deterrent, like, I'm watching you, right? And then, if you don't get it, then you can CC me on your own. It's been 15 days and I'm shocked to find that I haven't received my documents. And I'll be like, why, I can't believe this is going on. How could this potential violation of the law possibly have occurred? Right? And oftentimes that'll kind of speed up the process a little bit. So please don't hesitate to call me if you're getting someone dragging their feet. If it gets more painful beyond that, just call me and we'll work it out. What else? Okay, negotiate, be nice, blah, blah, blah. If they tell you you can't have that, you tell them why. Do not back down. You just say, oh, you're kidding me. That's terrible. What part of the law specifically, chapter and verse, would it be that allows you to keep that secret? And just, you know, put that in an email. And then they might give you some gobbledygook. Go look it up and figure out what that exception is. There is a very limited number of exceptions to the Inspection of Public Records Act. And in part because of a lawsuit that my organization was involved with, those are the only reasons they can keep something secret. They cannot make up a new reason. They cannot pull something out of their pants. It has to be something that is in the law already. And that's awesome, because that makes it really easy to figure out if they're denying these records for a legitimate reason or not. I sent in my tweets from NMFOG today, there's a link to the Inspection of Public Records Act Compliance Guide. And you will find all the exemptions in there. There's 8 really easy ones, and then there's a bunch of weird little things. And there are a few here and there that come out of the woodwork when you least expect them. But really, it's a very small list. Assume that you will be able to see this stuff, okay? Make them tell you why they can't. Medical records, matters of opinion in a personnel file. This could be the day that you get fired, your boss writes a letter about, oh my God, the horrible thing that you did. And it's like, I cannot believe, I've never in 20 years had such a terrible employee who did this horrible thing. And I am appalled by her behavior. I think it's the worst thing I've ever seen. I feel my opinion is. The fact that you were fired is going to be public information. But your supervisor's opinion about why you were fired is not. Similarly, when I write you a letter of recommendation for your job, and that becomes a part of your personnel file after you're hired, my name on the letterhead, maybe some of that stuff you can see, but the opinion part, I think she is the brightest student I've ever known, she's a genius, she'll be great, I just think she'd be such a wonderful asset. Because it's a matter of opinion, in your personnel file, it's going to be kept secret. There's a few things like that. But, you know, they're in the guide and you can see them. Police records, yes, yes, yes. Campus reporting, yes. FERPA, I give you a thing. Get the denial in writing. Always get it in writing and respond in writing. Good, good, good. Yes, yes. Okay. Some awesome resources. On our website, that page I showed you, under the Resources tab, gives you links to the Sunshine Portal, Rio Rancho's portal, Albuquerque's portal, a whole bunch of other great stuff. You can find government facts and figures. I also put up links to the compliance guides, which are awesome, and they answer tons of your questions. If you have a question about the Inspection of Public Records Act or the Open Meetings Act, go look in the compliance guide first. Use the one that's online. It's in Google Documents. It's searchable. Search for your terms. And if you can't figure it out and you need help, call me on the phone. The Student Press Law Center is awesome. They are super rad. I've called them. I use their stuff. That white paper on FERPA is great. The Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, I call them all the time too. They're great, and they only talk to reporters. The National Freedom of Information Coalition has some help on FOIA, and I have a great, the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press has a great interactive FOIA helper. Okay, that's my spiel. More questions? Yes?
I have a question. Earlier we were talking about graduation rates and how sometimes you can't compare them to earlier dates because they change methods. Is that included in the documents, or where do you find that?
Ask them how they got these numbers. What's the methodology? There's got to be a paper somewhere, some sort of record somewhere that explains how they did it or has some information. Otherwise, ask them how they did it. Ask to talk to the geeks. You know, they've got to have some sort of statisticians or something. Unfortunately, that's really hard, but just keep asking questions. Artie? Yes?
Okay. The story that I'm working on, I'm curious if this is public record or not. Active placer tests are given to students that in the proper courses, correct?
Right.
At CNN, public facility. Access to those records of students' scores and potentially ages of students that took the test. Is that all public record?
Couple things here.
Not the specific name of each student and their test score, but like the overall
Just the
score.
overall
Yes.
generalized.
Let me give you a couple things.
Ages and stuff.
I did not mention that no public body is required to make a record that they don't have. So often you're looking for information, and what you want is the name and the date and the time. And they don't have a document with just those three things. They have one that has 1,000 fields in it, an Excel spreadsheet that has all this other stuff. Or the information is actually in 3 different reports. You can't make them put those numbers together for you or create any kind of new report or document. If they happen to have a report that shows some of that stuff, the short answer is no, because you can't get individual student information. So an aggregate of how the 2012 spring semester testing scores were in total, how they compared to last year, that kind of stuff, you should be able to see. But students' names and ages with their scores, no. You're not going to get that. So but I would call them and say, what I'm trying to figure out is, what are you trying to figure out?
Well, I can care less about names. What I want to know is how many incoming freshmen from high school scored low enough on active placer tests to be put in remedial courses.
Call the records custodian and ask that question.
Okay.
And just say, what kind of report or stats do you have that would help me explain how many students at CNM need to take remedial courses? Because they probably have 1 million records that bear on that information. Ask them to help you, and they may have something good. Now, see what you get back, and if it's not good enough, move from there. Call me. Yes?
Actually, I have a question. So I've had an issue with this story before, but so what if some like a public employee got fired and you wanted to know why, but you said those personal records were not protected?
The fact that they were fired is a fact. The fact that they were disciplined 6 times previous to that firing is a public record.
Oh.
The fact that they were disciplined. But you can't probably get records that detail exactly why.
So can you find those records on it? Because if you ask them, what if they said they don't have?
Ask to inspect the personnel record for that person. Come in and you want to see the whole thing. Now, they're going to have to redact documents. If they tell you you can't see that piece of paper, you say, really? I think it should probably be redacted. So if there's private information on there, I'd like you to redact it and then show me the document.
So
now, if they're real jerks, you're going to come back with Department of the, Secretary of Health, all the time. And you're like, But more often than not, you'll get some little tidbits on there that are helpful.
So only the letter of termination and all those reasons behind why somebody is
Matters of opinion.
Okay, so
It has to be a matter of opinion in the personnel file. Right?
so only that is not public.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have to rely on your interviewing skills. Develop your secret sources. Yeah.
So one problem it seems like we've been having with Wikipedia a lot is that we'll ask for information that we believe should be easily accessible, but it seems like their default position for getting any type of information in any document is force us to file a letter. And you said that they should, if it's accessible, give it to you right away. Is there anything that I can tell them that, or anything that you can think of that would help us get that accessible?
I've talked to them about this.
Yeah.
The problem is that there's no penalty for not doing it. There's no penalty in the law for not giving over something that's on your desk. You could see that the document is right there. And you'd be like, I just want that piece of paper right there. And they'd be like, yeah, why don't you put in your request? And we're going to respond to that. Because I need this one. Because it's pretty important. Yeah. I'm sorry, but there's just no teeth in the law for that element of it. It's a huge pain in the butt, and they are not very good at it.
Is there anything in the law that that says that they should do that? I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
it's spelled out in the law that that they're required to provide you access to the documents immediately
Right.
if they can.
Right.
There's no penalty for not doing it.
Right. Okay. Well,
So
maybe I'll
it's-
just read that.
Good luck with that. Let me know how it goes.
You
Yeah.
probably know.
Can you go back one page on your PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wait. Let me go back, Nicole.
So if a public official is doing public business on personal email and then deletes those emails, is there any way that those can be recovered, or is that just a lost cause? Like a hacker type computer guy will somehow
Well,
retrieve?
it's a fun thing to think about, but realistically, this is the situation that would happen. You would put in a request for that information. They would tell you they didn't have it, that no such responsive records could be located, yada, yada. If you really wanted to push it, you'd have to file a lawsuit. And then a whole other set of rules kick in. You're probably just not going to get them. Yes, Artie.
Okay, so I just have a follow-up on that thing. So, what if you're working on a breaking news and you requested like a police record of the incident that just happened this morning, and you're trying to run the story to the newspaper, for example, and then they told you that you can't have it, you have to put it in the US. Is that
This is going to be you developing your sources, building relationships with the people on your beat. Once they know you and they trust you, they're going to make your lives a lot easier. The police are a pain in the caboose. They really are. But work your sources. Proctor works little magic over there. He's got tons of little buddies here and there. Get your little buddies here and there. We're going to help you out. Because they can do much more than they're required to by law. And if you establish yourself, you're persistent, you're nice, you're friendly, you treat them with respect, and your stories are accurate and fair, you will go far. And that will help you get around that whole problem. The graduation rates are an example. Kaylee Hines from the Journal called me the other day, and she said, so they're releasing, they release these graduation rates, this data to the schools, but they're not going to release them to the public. And they specifically said, don't give this out to the public for 2 more days. WTF. And I was like, SOL, right? Because there's not enough time for them to officially act on a NIPRA request. And if they don't want to give it to you in 2 days, they don't have to. And they didn't. Right? So, it's a strategy. It is. Strategy. Anything else? Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. I have cards in my pocket. Go to my website.